He wasn't born into fame, and he certainly wasn't handed success on a silver platter. In fact, the journey of Bruno Mars is one of those rare stories where raw talent met relentless determination, where rejection became fuel, and where every small stage became a stepping stone toward global superstardom. Because long before the world sang along to Just the Way You Are or danced endlessly to Uptown Funk, there was a young boy in Hawaii performing in front of small crowds, inspired by legends yet unknown to the world, absorbing music like oxygen and dreaming far bigger than his surroundings could contain. And what makes his story truly powerful is not just the fame he achieved, but the struggle he endured, because when he moved to Los Angeles, chasing that dream, reality hit. Hard record labels didn't see his potential, doors closed repeatedly, and instead of breaking him, those moments sharpened him, forcing him to evolve, to write for others, to stay behind the scenes while his own spotlight seemed distant. And yet, in those quiet, unseen years, he was building something unstoppable, writing hits for artists like Flo Rida and CeeLo Green, proving his genius even when his name wasn't on the billboard. And that's where most people would quit. That's where doubt becomes louder than ambition. But Bruno Mars chose a different path. He stayed, he worked, he believed, and eventually the world had no choice but to notice. And when his breakthrough came, it wasn't just success. It was an explosion, a statement, a declaration that talent backed by persistence always finds its way. And suddenly he wasn't just another artist. He was a phenomenon, blending pop, R&B, funk, and soul into something timeless, something unforgettable, something that made people feel alive. And what's even more inspiring is how he never lost himself in the process. Because fame can easily change people, it can distort purpose. But Bruno Mars stayed rooted in his love for music, his respect for legends, and his desire to create moments, not just songs, and every performance became a reminder of that hunger, that fire, that passion that refuses to fade. And as the years went on, he didn't just stay relevant, he dominated, reinventing his sound, pushing creative boundaries, collaborating with artists, and delivering performances that felt larger than life. And yet, behind the glamour, there's a deeper lesson. Because his story teaches that success is not about overnight fame, it's about consistency when no one is watching. It's about believing in your craft even when the world doesn't see it yet. It's about turning rejection into redirection, and most importantly, it's about never settling for average when greatness is within reach. Because Bruno Mars didn't just want to be heard, he wanted to be remembered, and that's why his music carries emotion, energy, and authenticity that resonates across generations. And as you listen to his journey, you realize something powerful, that greatness is not reserved for a chosen few. It's built day by day, decision by decision, moment by moment. And if there's one thing his story proves, it's that no matter where you start, no matter how many times you're told no, your breakthrough could be just one step away, but only if you keep moving, keep believing, and keep showing up. Because the world doesn't reward those who wish, it rewards those who persist. And Bruno Mars is living proof that when passion meets perseverance, the result isn't just success. It's legacy. He could have stopped after his first wave of success, could have comfortably lived off the recognition, the awards, the fame that millions spend their entire lives chasing. But that's not how Bruno Mars was built, because for him, success was never the destination. It was just the beginning of a much bigger vision, a deeper hunger, a relentless desire to perfect his craft in a way that most people don't even attempt. And that's where his story becomes even more powerful, because once the spotlight was finally on him, the real pressure began. The kind of pressure that destroys many artists, the kind that demands consistency, reinvention, and the ability to stay relevant in a world that constantly moves on to the next big thing. And yet, instead of playing it safe, Bruno Mars took risks. He challenged himself. He refused to become predictable. And that's why every project he touched felt different, felt fresh, felt alive. Because he wasn't just making music, he was creating experiences, moments that people would remember for years. And when you look at his performances, you see something rare, something almost lost in today's fast-paced industry, a true entertainer. Someone who doesn't just sing but commands the stage, someone who respects the art form so deeply that every detail matters. Every move, every note, every second crafted to perfection, and that level of dedication doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from discipline, from sacrifice, from countless hours of practice when no one is watching, and that's the part most people don't see, the part that separates dreamers from achievers. Because dreaming is easy, but showing up every single day, even when you're tired, even when you're doubting yourself, even when progress feels slow, that's where greatness is built. And Bruno Mars understood that better than most, which is why he didn't just rely on his voice. He mastered songwriting, production, performance, turning himself into a complete artist, someone who could control every aspect of his craft. And that control gave him power, the power to shape his identity, to stay authentic in an industry that often tries to mold artists into something they're not. And as his career grew, so did his influence. Because he wasn't just following trends, he was setting them, bringing back the essence of funk, soul, and live performance in a way that felt modern yet timeless, proving that real artistry never goes out of style. And that's a lesson worth holding on to. Because in a world obsessed with quick success and viral moments, it's easy to forget that true impact takes time, that lasting success is built on substance, not shortcuts, and Bruno Mars became a symbol of that truth, showing that you don't need to compromise your values to win, that you don't need to rush your journey to succeed, because when your foundation is strong, when your passion is real, when your work ethic is unmatched, success becomes inevitable. And yet, even with all his achievements, he continues to push forward, continues to evolve, continues to chase something greater, and that's what makes his story so inspiring. Because it reminds us that no matter how far you've come, there's always another level waiting, another challenge to conquer, another version of yourself to become, and the only way to reach it is to stay hungry, to stay focused, to stay committed to the process, because at the end of the day, greatness isn't about where you are right now, it's about how far you're willing to go. And if Bruno Mars teaches us anything, it's that the journey never truly ends for those who are determined to leave a mark that lasts forever. And just when people thought they had already seen everything he had to offer, Bruno Mars did something that only truly great artists dare to do. He stepped back. Not out of fear, not out of exhaustion, but out of intention. Because he understood something most people miss, that constant noise doesn't create greatness. Clarity does, and instead of chasing the spotlight, he chose to refine his vision, to sharpen his sound, to reconnect with the essence of why he started in the first place. And in that silence, in that space away from the chaos, something extraordinary was being built, something that would once again remind the world why his name carries weight. Because when he returned, it wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement, a reminder that true artists don't fade, they evolve, and that evolution was evident in every note, every lyric, every performance that followed. Because he wasn't trying to compete with others, he was competing with himself, pushing beyond his own limits, raising his own standards, and that's the kind of mindset that separates legends from temporary success. Because when your only competition is who you were yesterday, growth becomes inevitable. And as his journey continued, he didn't just collect awards or break records. He built a legacy, one rooted in authenticity, excellence, and an unwavering commitment to the craft. And what makes that legacy even more powerful is how it resonates beyond music. Because his story speaks to anyone who has ever doubted themselves, anyone who has ever been told they're not enough, anyone who has ever stood at the edge of giving up and wondered if it's worth it to keep going. Because Bruno Mars is living proof that it is, that every setback carries a lesson, that every rejection is a redirection, that every moment of struggle is shaping you into someone stronger, someone more capable, someone ready for the opportunity. That's coming, and the truth is, most people never reach their full potential not because they lack talent, but because they lack persistence, because they stop too soon, they settle too early. They let fear dictate their choices, but his journey challenges that mindset. It forces you to rethink what you're capable of, to question whether you're truly giving your best or just doing what's comfortable. And that's where real change begins, Because once you decide that average is no longer enough, once you commit to growth, to discipline, to showing up even when it's hard, everything starts to shift, and that's the energy Bruno Mars carries. That's the message hidden within his success, that greatness is a choice, a daily decision. To push forward, to improve, to stay focused on your vision even when the world tries to distract you.